This is a video demonstration of our new web service interface for the camera model IPVD-EL2MP. Now it offers a different interface, and also it works natively with Safari for Apple, for Apple computers. Actually, this interface now for Apple computers is still under beta, but it works natively now. One demonstration I'm going to do is the camera right now is sitting outside of my balcony, and I'm going to be showing you basically how the interface look like and how the things, some of the things that you will find different and, in comparison with the previous one we used to have, or the previous version of the web service we used to have. This version of the firmware or the web service only applies right now to the IPVD-EL2MP camera. It's a 2 megapixel IP Vandal Dome network camera, and it's available on our website as you see right now. I'm going to be showing you right now how to access the web interface. As you know, all of our cameras have a default IP. All of our product that you connect to your network, it has a default IP of 192.168.1.108. On the network that I'm at right now, I have a different IP schema or a different IP network, and I can show you right now if I go to System Preferences on my Mac and I go to Network. You see my IP right now is 192.168.10.1. In that case will be my router. This is basically how my IP schema is. And I just I already changed the IP of that camera to match my IP of my network. So I'm not going to do a video of that. It's very simple. You have to be on the same network as that computer and then change it to whatever network or whatever IP network you have on your environment. So I give it the IP of 192.168.10.108. It's running over port 80, so I basically go to Safari. There's two methods actually, and one of the things that it is brand new in this web service version is that it allows you to be searchable or allow network devices that are running this firmware to be searchable from using Bonjour. And click Show All History. Then you go here to the left side and it says Bonjour, and there you go. This is the model number of the camera. Now that is attached to the IP address of the camera. So because of the IP address of the camera is 192.168.10.108 in my case, I just can simply go and put that IP on Safari. 192.168.10.108. And here is the interface. So you see it's a new different interface view. Actually has differences on the way that it looks that it used to be before. So but the usernames and passwords of the camera, some of the features of the camera, depending on the camera you're trying to access, are going to be different, but pretty much you're going to have the same as you used to have before. Now the layout is different. So let me log in so I can show you. Username and password is admin. As you see right away, it's going to start streaming. And I leave this camera like this because I wanted to show you a trick. This camera right now is mounted facing, it's facing, it's mounted flat on a flat surface, and I cannot mount it on my ceiling, so I just, mount it on a flat surface. And what I'm going to do is there's a feature on the camera that you can flip the image and then put it the right way. So it's like you were having mounted on the ceiling. So again, let me close this. As you see right away, as soon as I get into the web service, the picture is going to start streaming, and you don't have to click open all or something like that. So you have the two options here. The mainstream will basically stream as high as resolution as this camera goes. This camera goes is a 2 megapixel camera, so it goes up to 1080p resolution. So when I click mainstream, it will stream using 1080p resolution. Okay. Now the substream is, as you know, is the stream that uses less bandwidth and less resolution. You can go on this camera up to D1 at 30 frames per second on the substream. This option right here, if I click on it, you will see like the resolution is a little bit degraded compared with a 1080p resolution. Still good, but you know, it's not, you can't compare it with the 1080p. So you see here to the left side, you see the mainstream and the substream tabs, and to the right side you will see live, setup, alarm, and log out. So if I click live, it's gonna start streaming based on this buttons. Whatever I press here is gonna start streaming. Okay, and this in this case, because I already stopped the previewing, the live is, when I click on it, it's not gonna stream. Even though when I stop it here, when I go there, it doesn't do anything. If it's only when you click one of these tabs and you want to go back to see live footage. So going to the setup portion, you will see now automatically will start streaming this picture of whatever the camera is looking at it. And you will see camera. Under camera there is some sub menus. Every menu has a sub menu. So the main menus are camera, network, event, storage, system, and information. So when you go and you open setup, it's going to go by default to camera, and it's going to start streaming this picture. So the trick that I was telling you about was this. So right now I have the camera flat on a flat surface, and I wanted to be able to, you know, make it right, make the picture right. So I click flip, and automatically, if you wait a little bit, it will flip the image. But now this is not, the image is mirror right now. This is not where this apartment building is. It's actually right here. So I click mirror to fix that picture, and then there you go. This is actually how the picture looked like when you go outside, and this is how the layout of the picture is. Going to some of the options that you will find on conditions under camera, you will see brightness. You know, you can adjust the brightness here. If you move the bars, you have to wait a little bit until it sends it to the camera, because remember, this is over the network, so there's a little bit of latency. Contrast, hue, saturation, and so on. I mean, you can play around with these options right here. The exposure mode by default is going to be on auto, but you can change, you know, how fast the shutter is going to be, and so on. So let's put it back to auto, and there you go. The scene mode, you have different type of scene modes here that you can play around with, you know, to you know, configure your colors and all that. By default it's set to auto. Backlight, if I wanted to turn backlight, the picture will be a little bit brighter. It will compensate the light. And I'm just going to, there you go. I'm just going to turn it off. By default is off. So when I click default, you will see the camera, it will show you this, and then it will go back exactly as it is. But for this demonstration, I'm going to turn these two options on to get the picture right. Under video, you will find your mainstream configuration and your substream configuration. As I told you before, this option right here is how the camera is going to be recording. As you know, this camera has an SD slot that you can put a micro SD card, class 4, and up to 32 gigabytes. So you can get at least 4 to 5 days based on motion, depending how you're recording. You can record here at the camera itself at 1080p through to the SD card using regular recording or based on motion. Of course, regular recording will give you less days. Motion will give you more days. So here you have all of the configurations. You can configure it if you want it to be D1, 720p, 1.3 megapixel camera, 1280 by 1024, or what is recommended or by default is 1920 by 1080. All of the features exactly the same, like encode mode, resolution, frames per second, and so on. They're going to be basically how the camera is going to be recording. Now, this is very important too, the type. When you're recording based on 24/7, you can tell the camera to record at a lower resolution. But every time that is motion, you want it to record at the highest resolution. So one thing you can do is, under general, you choose, let's say for example, I wanted to record, if I'm recording mixed, you know, in different hours, let's say from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I'm recording based on motion. I wanted to be recording based on motion in 1080p, but after those hours, I wanted to be recording 720p if I want to at a lower resolution. So I just click, make sure that you choose general, which is 24/7 recording, choose 720p, and then save it. Now, that configuration, when it's set to record at 24/7, is going to be 720p. But when you want to record based on motion and higher resolution, you just have to go to code stream type and then choose motion, and you will be able to change the resolution in here. Now, because I don't have anything set right now to be recording at, I cannot change those settings, but you will be able to change it once you're recording based on what you wanted to be recording here, or whatever resolution you set in there. So let's revert it back to 24/7, and another tabs you will find in here, it's snapshots. Here is how the snapshots are going to be sent to your email when you have email in place, and by default is 1080p. You can change that. The overlay here is if you wanted to set, where you wanted your time to show up, your channel, and so on. Going to network now, you will see all of these options right now. You have the TCP portion where you set your IP, and because of the resolution of my monitor, that's what it shows all screwed up right there. But you will see, like the IP and so on. If you have a IPv6 network, you can configure there as well, and you can change the host name if you want it not to call IPC. You can change it to whatever you want. And going back to connections, here is where your ports are. As I said before, all of our equipment shares the same IP and the same ports, so you will be familiarized with this once you get in there. The port, the HTTP port is 80, all of this, it's exactly the same as our DVRs and our megapixel cameras, our high-end megapixel cameras. And some other options you will find is PPPoE, D1 DNS. You have all of the D1 DNS options here, and it's pretty much the same across the configurations that we used to have, or we actually have right now, in comparison with this web service firmware version. You have the option to send emails if you want to. You have UPnP, SNMP. This is the part that I'm saying, bonjour. You can change this to, let's say, 2MP camera, and then save it. And I can go back to my history, show all, bonjour, and there you go. This is another method to just double click on it, and you will find it like that, and you will be able to access it. But if you know the IP address, you will be able to do it like that as well. Another thing is you can see, Multicast Qos. You can set up Qos right now on this firmware. Under event, you will see video detect. Here is where you configure, where you enable the camera to be recording on a SD card. So when you put an SD card, you're going to have to go here under event and enable this, otherwise it's not going to be recording. You can set up the periods if you want it to be recording from a specific time, and then it will stop recording, so on. The record delay is basically the post-record, and you have pre-record also. Actually, this is the anti-dither. This is basically the camera will there has to be motion in place for at least 5 seconds for you for the camera to recognize that is motion. So this is like a delay trigger. You will see here, the option to send emails and send snapshots and so on. And you can go to video masking now. Let me see what's going on. There you go. Okay, my computer was thinking. You can set up the video masking for working period. Basically, if someone puts something on top of the camera and it covers the camera will, you can set those based on a period as well. And you can set it to send emails and so on when that happens. Abnormality, you will see when no SD card is in place, you can enable this and it will send you an email. I don't recommend, by default actually is off. So if you turn it on and you don't have any SD card, you don't plan to record at the camera, you're going to receive emails non-stop. The capacity can send you an email when it meets certain quotas based on the percentage of the space on the SD card, when it's an SD card error, when it's disconnection, and when it's an IP conflict. Under storage, you will see here is basically the schedule, how you can configure the camera to be recording. If you want to be recording based on motion or 24/7, or you can mix and match all of them. And basically what you have to do is just choose whatever is suitable for you and click save, and then now I configure the camera to be recording 24/7. Right now I don't have any SD card, so I don't, it doesn't matter what I choose here at this point. I can default if I want to, and you will see every time that you click something, it will display a pop-up there, and it's very intuitive, it's very easy to use, and actually I like it better. It's well organized now and is more neat and clean. The snapshot schedule, if you wanted to be receiving snapshots, if you have an FTP server, you can configure the camera to send you snapshots based on an event, when a motion happens, or when 24/7 recording. And destination, this is actually where the footage is going to be stored. By default, because you have an SD card on it, it will be stored on the local. Local means that it's internally on the SD card, and it's based on timer and based on motion or based on alarm. And also here you will see the snapshots will be saved there as well. Under local, you will see right now I don't have an SD card, and that's why it shows that there. You can set up an FTP. You just put the IP of the FTP, username and password if it requires some, and you will be on your way to send snapshots to it. Network, if you have NFS type of NAS device, or a type of partition or type of device that it will recognize an NFS shared, you can make the camera to store footage in there. Now, whatever you choose in here, you cannot mix and match. So if you choose to do FTP, you cannot do local. So you will see every time that I click on it, and I try to click, one individual, I can do it within the same option, but not, not local based on timer and not local based on FTP. It will not accept that. So you have to choose what you wanted to do. We recommend to use the local. I mean, you have up to 32 gigabytes SD cards. That I see in the micro SD card, 64 gigabytes. Some are there. They are quite expensive, but they are there. As long as they are class 4, you should be able to read the card. Conditions, you will see this is the pack duration, basically how the camera is going to be chopping the files. So if you're recording 24/7 and you're recording based on an hour, of course, 24/7, it will record from 12 to 1 p.m. for example. It will break the files on 8 minutes each. So the pre-event record is going to be basically when motion happens, the camera will pre-record 5 seconds. You can configure all the way to 30 seconds if you want to. When the SD card is full, you can set it to override or stop. And this is how the camera is going to be recording. Automatic is based on the schedule you have set. Manual is you have to go there and start the recording, or off, it will not record. Click default. Okay. System. Under system, you can configure all of your, the device name when you search for it from an NVR, for example, the language and all that. Day and time, to match. You can actually sync this with your PC. Make sure your time zone is correct. And you can set up an NTP server that basically will synchronize the time on your current time based on a server that you configure here. There's thousands of servers out there that you can configure. If you wanted to do that, you have to forward this particular port to the IP of the camera. And this is the interval of how long the camera will refresh and talk to the NTP server for you to get the new time. DSTP enable if you wanted to configure that as well. Under system, of course, you will find the accounts. You will see it has the same usernames and passwords that our DVRs have, and the default password. You cannot delete this. If you try to delete it, it says, are you sure you want to do this? And it remove user failed. So you will not be able to do that. You can edit it. You can edit certain things, but like when the camera is streaming to an NVR. You can configure the camera to not show a particular the footage, or actually the live footage. And in order for you to view the footage or show the live footage, you have to log in with a username that has those rights. Wouldn't recommend to change this because there's only one footage or one stream that you're going to be viewing. Here, you can basically see the rights, the authority list of every username you choose. You can edit them if you want to. You can create if you wanted to as well. You can add a user here. Let's say test. This is case sensitive, so let me make it, like this. Confirm password, and I'm gonna add all of the authority and click save, and there you go. It's very easy to use. It's a very good and very well done interface. Default, if you wanted to default the entire camera, I'm not going to do that right now because it will change the IP and I will not be able to continue the video because I'm going to lose the IP configurations. Auto maintenance, you can have the camera auto reboot every day or never. You can auto delete old files and so on. You can manual reboot the camera right now if you want to. Now, in the future, when there's new upgrades, you will be able to do it yourself pretty much, as long as you have the right update. You go to upgrade and you click the browse the file, and then you will be able to push the file to the camera and get the new upgrade to it. Information, you will see the version of it, the web version, the software firmware information, and the serial number of the camera. And logs, as you can basically search any type of log that that the camera offers, like system, and then I can see based on a daytime period, I can see some of the logs that the camera has logged into. Since I'm making this video, I can click on every log and it will tell me the admin at this particular time, the type of log was the safe configuration, and this is the change I make. I changed that to 2MP camera when I was showing you the bonjour option. So as I said, it's very intuitive, it's very easy to use. I hope you can find this video interesting, and it's again, this is a video demonstration for this particular camera, IPVD-EL2MP. It's available on our website, and I hope you like it. I hope this has been informative for you, and I would like to thank you for viewing.